middle of conversation. We ain't even got to start over.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to say a quick welcome because we already been in here talking. Usually Vic says, welcome to the Tents Tabernacles Podcast, but today I'm saying, I'm saying it. Welcome to the Tents Tabernacles Podcast where we meet God through the person of Jesus Christ.
Yep.
I did it.
You did it.
We are on episode 10, and before we even get started, or before I forget, I'm gonna pray because it's necessary right now. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for just who you are. I thank you for Vic and that just who she is. I thank you for placing her in my life. I thank you for everybody who listens to this podcast and who joins in with us. And I just am so grateful for this time every week. We ask that you'll be here with us, that you'll be here in this conversation, that you'll guide the conversation, that the whole conversation will be Holy Spirit led, and that we will be touched by it. We will be affected by it, and anybody who's listening will be affected by it. We love you so, 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 so much. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well, we were already talking, y'all. We were talking about forgiveness and how hard it is, and that just forgiveness with people who have really done you terribly is really, really hard, but it must be done. And yeah, I don't know if we want to get into that because that's not what we came here to talk about, but that is
It's
what we're
not,
talking
but
about.
sort of kind of is because.
Yeah, because there are ways we could touch on it in what we're discussing today, because there was some crazy stuff we're about to talk about.
Yes.
We don't even need to do.
I'll bring it around when we talk about Samson.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like we don't even need to do a highs and tries today because, baby, we got a lot to discuss.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We read Judges last week, and I don't know if any audience members have read Judges, but you should read it. It may trigger you though, so
It's a
trigger
lot.
warning. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
going on in there. It's like Israel at its worst. Like it's
It's his
beyond.
downward spiral for sure.
Yeah, we're not even gonna be able to get into every single story. Today we probably singled out the ones that we thought were caught our attention the most.
Yeah.
But I am gonna give our Bible facts just so we know. Nobody knows who wrote Judges. They say it's most likely Samuel, but nobody actually knows. Technically, it's anonymous. But I think it could be Samuel. I don't see why not. It was written to, it says the Israelites whose ancestors continuously rebelled against God. So I'm guessing this could be written to whenever they did write it. It was written to the people who was like, hey, I just want you to know, like 100 years ago, your ancestors were really wilding out, and you should know about what they did, so you're reminded of how evil they were and how you don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I read that the reason was the book of Judges was written as a defense for King David and as a record of Israel's sin cycles, because they would sin and they would ask for forgiveness. They would sin, much like us. And so I'm guessing it was written down because they had no king at this point. And so it's kind of like a defense of having a king. Like, okay, we have a king now because when we didn't have any kind of king or leader, nobody knew how to act.
Got it.
Yeah. And the theme of the book is basically Israel's disobedience and their need to be saved. So on the actual timeline of what is being written about, not when it was written, this is like between them conquering the promised land and then the rise of the monarchy of King Saul and King David. So that's just our little background. So in the book of Judges, there's basically a judge is like a it's like a leader, but what is I forgot there was like a what's like the word like it's not like they judged what's the word for it? I wrote it down somewhere, but it was like they were just basically like the leader at the time that was risen up by God to do a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and then they would be replaced after however many years
Yeah,
by
after they
God.
died.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah, and I think there were like 12 judges. Wow, is it always 12? Like the number?
maybe.
Because there's 12 disciples, or 12
Hmm.
apostles, there's 12 tribes, and there's 12 judges. I just realized that because I looked at the list.
Ah, yeah.
That is interesting.
Well, technically, there's 13 judges, one being Jesus, but
I
yeah,
mean, I didn't read that
12
anywhere.
judges
That's just
in
a spur of the
Judges,
moment thing that I just was like, wait,
and then
what?
Jesus.
Because even in the book of Revelation, there they talk about how that's when I realized that 12 was like a thing. What is the meaning for 12? But like when they're in heaven or he's getting the vision of heaven,
Mm,
like he sees the 12 apostles and there's like 12 something else, and everything represents like the apostles and the tribes. And I'm like, what is this number
mm,
of 12? What does 12 mean to God? Because if you think about the 12 tribes, it's only 12 because Joseph gets two tribes, basically.
right, yeah, because he gets
Yeah.
Manasseh
And
and
Ephraim,
Ephraim.
Ephraim, Ephraim.
Hmm.
So that's what, you know what I'm saying? It's like almost like God has to make it like, no, it's got to be 12 because this is how I'm going to make it 12. Because
but
even with the
but does
disciples,
Joseph have a tribe?
no, when they talk about Joseph's
It's
clan, they are talking
Manasseh.
about Ephraim and Manasseh together. But usually, they 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 talk about them separately because then that makes 12.
Right.
I think that's right. And then even with the disciples, when Judas betrays Jesus, Judas is replaced by Paul to make
Well,
12 again,
he's replaced by
right?
he's not directly replaced by Paul. No,
Well, not directly,
he's
but
replaced. They replace him with Matthias, and then they like start ministry, and then Paul joins in the
so it's Paul
apostles.
a 13th apostle?
There's way more after they replace Judas. I actually just read this. Is crazy. There's way more apostles because then there's Silas, there's John Mark,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
there's so many more after they replace
I
Judas's
always
spot
wondered, like,
because
do they
Judas's
have the
spot was.
apostles and then they have disciples? Like, how do they make the distinction?
So the disciples walked with Christ, and then the disciples became apostles because they took Christ to the outskirts of the world.
Right, right.
So you can take Christ to the outskirts of the world and not have directly like walked with Christ on earth.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Just like the apostolic gift is like you can walk in the apostolic gift, and
Mm,
none of us have walked directly with God in the Bible. So I mean with Jesus in the
mm.
Bible. So we're
Yeah, I
disciples of
got it.
Christ, yes, but like we weren't a part of the 12 disciples.
Yeah, I gotta reread that part of Revelation again because I always that's what sparked the interest to me in in the 12 number because it's like there's a representation of 12 apostles in heaven,
Hmm.
but I know he ain't representing Judas up there. Ain't no
No,
way.
I think it might be Matthias,
It's
the
one
one
of
that
them, but it
replaced
ain't
him,
him.
because it's in scripture, it's in prophecy that that position is replaced or
Yeah,
is refilled. So
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
refilled with Matthias or
Okay,
something
yeah.
like that.
But either way, he's replaced to make it's like
Yeah,
I gotta make sure it's
to
12
keep the
again.
12. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just that's just a random fact. Sorry, I just looked at my notes and I noticed it was 12 judges and I just what stuff just started going off in my
Yeah.
head. But yeah, I can't some of them they don't really say much about, but some of them had pretty crazy stories. So I think the first judge that we have to talk about if we're gonna go in like order, Deborah is first, and then we're going to talk about Gideon,
Yeah.
and then we're going to talk about, I don't know how to say this, Jephthah, maybe.
Yeah, Jephthah.
Okay, good
Yeah.
job, Chris. Okay, Jephthah, and then we're going to talk about Samson,
Yes.
and then we're going to talk about something real crazy.
Yeah.
He's not a judge, but it was real crazy.
It was
Real
real
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
Whew, okay, let's go, y'all.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm gonna attack Deborah first, just because I feel like we should touch on her because we're women, and
Exactly.
yes, girl
Sorry.
power. And I like when I see women in a role that you wouldn't expect in the Bible, especially in the Old
Right.
Testament. So
Right.
Deborah is the only woman judge, which I love. She was also a prophetess,
Hmm.
so she could tell you what God was saying. She was also a wife. I feel like, okay, girl, I can have it all.
Period.
Yes. She was, I want to say, she was the fourth judge in the book. And when she comes into play, she's the judge after this guy named Shamgar. Israel has again turned away from God. Of course, they, in this point of their life, they're like really worshiping Baal, I think, the god of
Yeah,
in
they're
Canaan.
worshiping Baal.
They're doing the most. Like they're like they don't even remember God, which is
Yeah,
weird because
because
they still have the Ark of the Covenant, but they
they do still have the Ark of the Covenant, but because they didn't, let me put this pen down. Because they didn't kill off all of the tribes in Canaan that they were supposed to, like they took them as slaves. So there
mm-hmm.
was, like we had talked about last time in Joshua, like they kept on some of the people, some of the very people that were going, that were supposed to be enemies of God. And so
Mm-hmm.
now they had to choose between falling in line with what the Canaanites were doing and then doing what God had told them to do. So like now they're up against society because they have enough of those people enslaved that
Yeah.
there's a cultural like war almost to decide who I'm going to serve, and they lose because they end up serving Baal instead of Christ. Well, instead of God.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So that's basically like a pattern in this book. So at
Literally.
this time, when they would be disobedient or whatever, sometimes God would sell them like back into slavery.
Yeah.
Low key. So the Lord had sold them to the king. I think his name is Jabin or Jabin, Jabin, Jabin. I'm gonna say Jabin.
Yeah.
He was the king in Canaan, and he was reigning at that time. He had and so the people, of course, they're crying out like, "Oh God, help me now because I've been oppressed." I think they were oppressing Israel for 20 years,
Yeah.
and then Israel cried out. So God's like, "Okay." So he tells Deborah, who's a prophet, like, hey, I told this guy named, is it Barak or Barak? Is it Barak?
So when I was listening to it being read to me, it was uh Barrick,
Barak.
but it's Barack to me.
It looks like Barak, but then I was
It's
like, does
spelled the
Barak
same
have
as
a C
Barack
in it?
Obama, so it's Barack to me.
Oh my God, I almost choked. I call him Barak too. Well, so it's funny because Deborah is the judge, but it's like Barak is like involved too. But Barak, it's like he needs Deborah. So
He does, but he doesn't want to know that he needs he
yes,
needs Deborah.
because it sounds as though when you read it that Barack kind of already knew what he was supposed to do, but he was
Uh
like acting like he didn't know. So then Deborah goes up to him and she's like, "Hey, didn't God tell you you were supposed to go fight this Sisera, who is the commander of the Canaanites?" And he's
yeah.
like, "Well, I'm only gonna go if you come with me." And she's
Right.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna go, but since you acted scary, you're not gonna be the one that gets to kill him. You're not gonna get no honor. But let's go. Let's go ahead and go."
Right. It's like if I go with you, everybody gonna say that a woman defeated these people and not you. I'm just gonna let
Yeah,
you know that
I'm
now.
just letting you know
If I come
what's
with
gonna happen.
you, a woman is going to get the victory, and you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to walk
Yeah,
around with the idea that a girl just fought your battles.
yeah. And he seemed like he was cool with it. He's like, "Okay, let's go then."
Right.
So
Right.
so he was scary, and then so Deborah's like, okay, let's go. And so God, of course, and when he gets involved in battles, he throws like the Canaanites army like into like a panic, and I think they start like losing their minds or whatever. And so this
Yeah.
commander that they're trying to get, he runs and flees, and he finds the tent of this lady named JL. And JL, she must know what's going on. But what's funny about JL is she's not even an Israelite. She's
Nah.
actually a Kenite who is like her, I want to say like her great somebody was Moses' father-in-law. So she's not related to really, but it's like she's not even an Israelite.
Mm.
So Sisera, I think I'm pronouncing that right. He shows up to her tent to try to be hidden because he feels like he's safe if her husband's not home. So he's like, this lady, she's gonna keep me safe. No,
Mm-hmm.
he says he's thirsty. He actually, I want to say he asked for some water or he asked
He
for something.
did, and she was like, "It's okay. I'm
No,
gonna get you some warm milk,
she doesn't give him any water. She gives him milk. When he
bro."
gets sleepy, if you know, warm milk makes you tired. I don't know why it does, but it does. Because I know I can't even drink lattes. That espresso doesn't even help because it's just nothing but warm milk with espresso. It puts me straight
Yeah,
to sleep.
yeah.
If I'm trying to get hype off coffee, I drink coffee black iced because that warm milk is cold. Put me to sleep. So
Yep.
when he falls asleep, my girl JL, oh my gosh, when I first read this, I was like, whoa. She's a savage.
Oh
She's the
yeah,
original savage.
literally. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna name my daughter after her because she's a boss.
I don't know if she just knew that he was an evil man. I don't know if God was like, hey, I need you to do this. I don't even know. I feel like there's really not an explanation on why she knew what she had to do. But she takes a tent peg, which is like these big things, the tent pegs, because they live in tents. And this is how they, make the tents. She takes it and she drives into his temple with a hammer.
Hmm.
And it seems like she's so calm. There's no panic involved.
Yeah,
She's
it's
just
just I'm
like,
gonna crush
"Mm."
your head now.
So then our boy Barack shows up and he's like, where you see the man? She's like, oh, he's right here. And there's Sisera dead on the ground. And after that, Deborah and Barack sing a song about their victory. They
Oh
do.
my goodness,
They sing a
yes.
song.
And I was like, okay, go off then. Like,
Yeah, like what? Like,
cool. Go off then, sis.
I mean, I guess they were celebrating their victory. But I just love that story. I actually read about Deborah first. I have this book that I read with this can y'all see it? With
Mm.
this book club I was in last year, and it's this book called She Speaks, and it's wisdom from the women of the Bible to the modern Black woman. So it has like
Ooh.
not every there are some typos in here. I wanted to write the author and be like, you got a few typos, boo. But uh the Deborah and JL are both in here, and it kind of like tells you like how you can apply her to your life and stuff like that. So that's when I first heard about them. But I just love that this story is full of women, and it shows how, like I brought up JL not being an Israelite, how like in everybody is God's people.
Hmm.
Like he could use us all for his good purposes, and he uses like the most unlikely people. And
Yeah.
that's why I love that story, because it's full of girl power,
Yep.
and it's like, I mean, you can even he could use women, he could use foreigners, he could use whoever.
Right.
And yeah, so y'all should definitely read that. It's in Judges. I forgot what chapter now, but it's right there. You'll see it. Then they're gonna sing a song. So after Deborah, we get to Gideon, which I know Vic has a lot to say about. I have some notes on Gideon, but I know you have more. Um,
So
you
I
like
actually did a
it.
whole live on this like some months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my eyes keep watering. Oh
You
my
know, I think I
goodness.
remember you doing that live.
I did. Yes. So I
I
did
think
this
I remember
live
that.
and it's on my Instagram if you guys want to go and watch it. I think it's good because,
They're all
I
good.
like Gideon. But Gideon's my boy because he asked God the question that we all be asking God but be scared to ask God. And that's the question of, well, if you with me, then why is all this stuff happening to me?
Yes, very honest.
Bro, when I read that, I highlighted that so many times because I was like, dude, that's been my whole question from like the jump. If God is with me, if he says that he loves me and he's with me, then why is all this stuff happening?
Mm-hmm.
And the angel that came to him didn't answer that question.
We gonna talk about the angel. We gotta talk about that. You talk about the angel that
Okay,
came to
hold
him, the
on.
angel of the Lord.
Yeah, that came to him to tell him that like God is with him, and he was like, if God's with me, then why is all this stuff happening? And the angel was just like, God is good. Like he didn't really answer that question.
I know.
Cause trust me, if
What
he had an answer, I would know. I don't remember him actually answering that question.
I'm actually about to go back to it because the only thing I read earlier, which just gave me all the pause, I was just like, look, I like all I know is every time the angel of the Lord pops up and the angel of the Lord starts speaking as if it's God,
Uh-huh.
I just be like, hold on, what's going on? So when I went to the commentary, it said that in this part, wait, let me go back. What chapter is Gideon?
6. Judges
Six.
6.
Okay, so when the Lord calls Gideon, right? It
Uh-huh.
says, then the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, valiant warrior." And then he asked the question you said, right?
Mhm.
And then it says, the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and deliver." So, and then later on, he says that he saw the Lord. So when I looked at the commentary, it said that this is a theophany, which a
Yeah.
theophany is an Old Testament appearance of Jesus Christ before his full incarnation through being a baby. So it's like he
Yep.
wasn't fully a human, but he appears in human form. So my boy was talking to Jesus.
And he was like, "Bro, if you for me, then why is all this stuff happening? Where was all the miracles that you like we hear about? All our ancestors did this, had this, and da da da. And where is you now?" Now the
Yeah.
thing is that they were in captivity to Midian because of their Baal worship. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily that God had forgotten about them. They had moved away from God, but someone who grows up in oppression doesn't know that. So like
Right.
Gideon wasn't old enough to have done that transgression necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
he grew up in it. He grew up in the repercussions of it.
Yeah, like it
And
was normal to him to see his dad have a Baal altar because he was so
yeah.
young. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the fact that like it was normal for him to know what oppression is because
Yeah.
that's just what he grew up in. Like he grew up under the
Mm-hmm.
oppression of the Midianites cuz he was like they were in Midian or they were in captive to Midian for 27 years, I think.
Let me see. I have a 7 written down here, but I could have forgot the 2.
I thought it was some years.
No, I mean I don't know because I was taking these are I just took these notes,
Um, I
but you
might be
have
I might be
we both
wrong.
have the
I thought it
7,
was some years, but
but they were oppressed though. They
they were
were
oppressed for
oppressing
a while.
Israel. Yeah,
But
because this is the part where Israel's like they're like hiding from them, like in the mountains and
yeah,
caves, like it's like real bad.
yeah, like Midian wasn't like the people of Midian were not playing any games. Like the Israelites couldn't they couldn't reap any of the harvest that they had planted. Like anything that
Hmm.
they were doing, they could not receive the prosperity from that thing. And and the fact that the Lord answered his question with, "Okay, go with that strength that you have right there, to
Hmm.
come to ask me that question. Go with that,
Keep that
and
same energy.
keep that same energy,
Keep it
keep that same
like
energy, and go do what I told you to do."
yeah.
Um, and also it's like the first thing that God told him to do was to go and destroy the altar in his father's house. Like
Hmm.
before he could go and deliver Israel from the Midianites, he had to go and deliver his family from their Baal worship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, talk about generational curses. You have to go
Tear
and
it down.
deliver and tear that down before you can go and
Mm.
deliver anybody else.
Dang. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. That one hit home for me for
Right.
so many
Right.
reasons.
Right.
That's what
But
I'm
it's
trying to do
so
right
true,
now,
man.
bro. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Um, so
Dang.
okay. So the thing with Gideon, when I first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like he has, like he's just like us and like he was used by God. This is great. But
Hmm.
like bro was doubting God from the beginning. Like he was doubting God
Oh
the
yeah.
whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like God used his doubt to get glory. Oh, my nose is running. God God used Gideon's doubt to ultimately get the glory at the end of the battle, because he could get the glory in Gideon's life because Gideon was able to like see God work, but he was
Hmm.
also able to get glory in the life of Israel because it looked like everything was stacked against him. But what I want to bring up is something that I heard in when I was watching like the spoken gospel. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, y'all should look at their Bible plans because they're really good.
Yeah, I
So
love them.
yeah, so spoken gospel, they were saying that like Gideon's fear is what caused him to be extremely violent. And it was in his fear and violence that God was able to distribute justice on the Midianites. Um, Now that kind of rocked me a little bit because all of Judges is like that. All of Judges are times where God uses the sin of their people, of his people, to distribute judgment, whether it be onto them or to other people. And it's like just like our sin is used by God to bring judgment on Jesus, and therefore we get blessed. So it's like he brought he brought blessing out of our sin
Mm.
when he used sin before Jesus. God used sin to dole out judgment. And we see that more in Samson, and I'll like talk about more specifics in Samson, but in the issue with Samson, but it's like the like Judges just speaks to how God uses flawed people
Hmm.
to ultimately do his will. And even like moving forward into Jephthah, like he was able, like that whole thing.
Oh
If
my
you want to
god.
explain that first, you can.
You want to go? You want to do Jephthah before
Yeah, because
Gideon?
honestly, like this is a whole through line, so we could just go through and talk about all of it, and then I could like sum it all up at the end because it's a whole
Yeah.
through line of Judges.
I wrote down some stuff on Jephthah because I was just very disturbed by his story.
Uh huh.
Jephthah was let me see. Jephthah was, what number was he on the judges? My boy Jephthah was like the 8th judge. He's before Samson. He's after um Gideon. But Jephthah, he's a Gileadite. He is described as a valiant warrior. And he's the son of a prostitute. So he is the outcast of his family. He's outcast of his family, so he ends up leaving and fleeing to another city because his brothers are really mean. Then his brothers are like, "Come back and fight with us. We just really
Yeah.
didn't mean it." Um, and then so he becomes a judge, and they have to fight. Who were they fighting? I think the Ammonites.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody different they fighting. So he makes this vow, this very foolish vow to God that God didn't even ask for. God
At
didn't
all.
ask for this at all. He just takes it upon himself because he's almost like, it's almost like, I don't know if he didn't have enough faith, but he was kind of like maybe trying to manipulate God. Like if I offer
Yeah.
God something, he'll do this for me, even though God
Yep.
already said he was for you anyway. Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so Jephthah, he makes this very rash vow that he's like, if you hand the Ammonites over to me, when I go home, whoever comes, well, the Hebrew actual translation is whoever or whatever. But whatever comes out of his house or out of the gate or whatever, first he will offer as a burnt offering. So, who comes out of the house first is his daughter, his only daughter. He only
Yep.
has one daughter, one kid, and he gets extremely distressed. He tears his clothes. I don't know if he throw ashes on his head. That's what they usually do.
I think so.
So, um, so this is the thing though. He says that he will offer it as a burnt offering, but there are two theories about whether he really burnt her or he just
Had her
dedicated her
killed.
to life working in the tabernacle.
Oh.
There's two theories on that because this is what I think. The girl was too calm. Even if she really believed in God
Yeah.
and she had enough faith, she was very calm. And then she went to mourn her virginity, not her life. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So, what I read on him was that the vow was very foolish and it wasn't asked for. Like I said, the vows could be attempts to manipulate God, and that God would never put you like human sacrifice was actually like against the law.
Yeah.
It's against the Mosaic law. So it's like, why would you think that you should even make that kind of,
Right. Right.
or unless it's possible that he thought maybe a animal was gonna come out the gate like a goat or something, or maybe he said
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
comes out. But what I was reading was that the oath was stupid in the first place, and that when
It
his daughter
was.
came out, he should have just told God like, "Hey, that vow was really rash, and I shouldn't have made it, and I repent for making this stupid vow in the first place."
I think even if he did repent, he would have had to hold it because um like you don't break oaths with God. Like that you don't make an oath with God flippantly, and that's what he did. So I think either
Yeah,
way he would
but
have
this is the
received a
thing:
judgment
should you be making a
for his
vow
words.
to do something that's against God's law? That's like me saying, "Lord, if you do this for me, I'm I don't know, what's like a bad sin." Like, or I'm gonna go murder somebody. If you do this for me, I'm whoever I see next. I'm sacrificing them to you, Lord. No, he's gonna be like,
So
no, bro, that's not how that works.
so the thing with Jephthah is that he was the product of the society, and so what he offered was something that was commonly offered to Baal. Like
Right.
it's not like it's not like he thought that was wrong. So it was
So it's like you're
he
mixing
thought he was doing
things, though. You're mixing
yeah, so
God with Baal because
exactly.
God
And so
said,
God showed himself and was like, if that's how you see me, keep
yeah,
that
because
energy.
but you not don't think you giving her to me because she ain't got nothing to do with this. And human
Right.
sacrifice is strictly forbidden under Mosaic law. That's in
Right.
Deuteronomy.
It is. No, I think honestly, I think it was really that the judgment of his words fell on him and his house. Um and so like he had to eat his words, unfortunately. It
Oh
was one,
yeah.
yeah, so it was like I don't feel like it was God saying, "Oh, well, yes, I'll take her." But
Mm-mm.
rather like, "Okay, those are your words and now you're going to eat them.
I
Now
mean,
you're
he
going
just
to
let
live."
him do what he was gonna do.
Yeah, cuz in
Um.
Romans it's Paul says that like at the end of it all, I mean, God gives us over to our sin. He'll give us
Mm-hmm.
over to our sinful desires, and that's basically what's happening in Israel, where the more that they repent just to get out of captivity, and then they go back to doing what they're doing, and then the judge dies and they go back to, and they're just doing all of this back and forth with God. Eventually God stops speaking and God stops sending judges, and God gives them exactly what they want, which is a king, and their king is exactly like them. And he God just starts giving into what they want,
Mm-hmm.
instead of instead of giving them what they need, or and much of what they didn't deserve, um God just started giving them what they want. And when God starts to take his hand off of your life,
Good.
it's not fun. And you
Yeah.
lose people, and you lose yourself, and you lose things. You can lose your own life, as we see, in Samuel. I mean, in First Samuel alone, but we ain't gonna get into that because we ain't got
Oh
there
my
yet.
gosh. Wait till we get there. That's like one of my
Yeah,
favorite books. It's so good. It's so well written. I just can't
it
even get over
is.
it.
It's beautiful.
It's so
Um,
beautiful. Um, Now, do you believe, what is your theory? Because there are two theories. Some people believe that he actually sacrificed her, even though it doesn't explicitly say it, it doesn't like describe it, but we could just draw our own conclusions. And then some others believe that she went to the woods to mourn her virginity, and that she was set aside for tabernacle service. Because if she was dedicated to the tabernacle, she was never going to get married. She was never going to be able to have sex. She was going to just work at the tabernacle for the rest of her life. And that there is a principle in Leviticus 27 2 through 4, that there are women who are set apart for the tabernacle. And they're when it's referenced in Exodus 38:8 and 1 Samuel 2:22. Apparently, I used to go back and read 1 Samuel 2:22 because I think I missed that. And it says the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So apparently, there were women who serviced the tabernacle in some kind of way. Maybe she was kind of like when Samuel's mom dedicated him not to the tabernacle, but like in service of the temple. Maybe that was a thing people did. Like, I give my child up to service to the Lord. I don't know because it doesn't really say. So what side are you on?
um, I
Because
think he did. I think he
I
did
think he did
actually
too.
give
I think he
her
did too. That was my
up.
first instinct.
But the thing is that I don't think he gave her up to the God of Israel,
You think he sacrificed her? Dang. Yeah, because I feel like God would not
because
accept
God
that
doesn't
sacrifice.
accept. Yeah, like
He's
God
not
wouldn't
going to
accept
accept
that.
that sacrifice. Yeah, it's not a like
So for
he
you to,
didn't do the right thing.
yeah, so for you to still do that in nobility for him, he would have had to sacrifice her to Baal.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that part.
Also, though, that would kind of, I guess, to corroborate that, they would mix worship all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, as things were being intermingled and they started to do Baal worship, it, they started to view God and Baal as the same. Like, it was,
hmm Yeah. Yeah. It
so
all just
there was
gets
a lot of
jumbled up.
things. Yeah. So there was a lot of things mixing together. Like when the Levite priest or whatever, the priests became mercenaries, they were priests for hire
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my God. That was like, wait, what?
to to validate the Baal altars. So
Wow.
they were using things that were inherently gods to worship Baal. So
hmm
I definitely believe that she
Yeah.
was
Because
sacrificed
I
to him.
think everybody more or less believed in God, which is kind of not funny. I don't know what the word really I want to say is, but it's like, and I think this is because now I'm kind of confused where I am reading because I don't know what I read today because I read First Samuel today
Oh
too.
yeah.
But is this in First Samuel? I think it is. So it's a little head, but there's times where the other nations acknowledge like, oh, the God of Israel is like doing these things to us. The God of Israel is attacking us. So they
Oh
know
yeah. And that's
they're
when,
like,
but they also
hey,
said
this
like
is really a
plural.
God. Huh?
They said they would actually, the translation that I read, they had plural gods. It was like, oh, the gods of Israel are doing this to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, because they didn't know what was really going on. But in this time, people believe in gods, period. So they're
Yeah.
like, oh, Israel's God is like doing the most on us.
Yeah.
So it's like even they believed, which is like crazy. So it's like Israel probably still believed in God, but now they believe in other things too, just like
Yeah.
their pagan neighbors.
Right.
And everybody's pagan now, basically. At this point, Israel is definitely
Yeah.
pagan because they only
Yeah.
cry out to God when things
They're
get
trapped
hard.
or something. Yeah.
But then they still have. I just don't even understand it. I don't even get it.
They even
And the
went through like
worship,
this
another.
whole They went through this whole thing of like burning or shelving their idols and like burning them and getting rid of their idols and whatnot, and then literally went right back to idol worship. Like it
Yeah, yeah. And they had another idol too. They had Baal, but I had looked up earlier. I had to Google the Asherah pole. Is it Asherah pole? Asherah? Is it Asherah? Asherah. Some kind of pole. But
yeah,
it like signified, I think I posted on my Instagram earlier. It was like a goddess. So they had Baal, who is
yeah,
like the god of the the weather and stuff. And then Asherah, let me see if I can find it again. Um, yeah, Baal was like the god over the weather and nature for the Canaanites, and I guess for anybody else who was around there. And Baal, it also means husband or owner.
uh-huh,
Owner is like really standing up to me. I'm like, ooh. So it said, therefore, Israel worshipped the Canaanite god Baal, and they entertained another husband
uh-huh,
or owner. And then the Canaanite idol Ashtoreth, and this is where the Asherah pole I think comes from. It was a goddess of love, sex, and fertility.
yep,
So, like when Gideon tore down his dad's altar, he also tore down his Asherah pole too.
interesting, because
Hmm.
Israel was pretty much worshiping all of that, even through unto like all the way to Jezebel. So
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Like I was thinking about
yeah,
today, I was like, how do like it's I don't know. It's Jewish people's history, like ethnically Jewish people.
yeah.
So I'm always like, how do they feel about this? Like your
I mean, how
ancestors
do
were
how
really.
do we feel about voodoo, and how do we feel
I feel the
about
same way, but I don't have a book that's just explicitly telling our business. Not that I know of.
right? There very well might be.
Or I mean, we could be mixed in there somewhere. Who knows what these tribes spread out? I don't know. But I'm just like, dang, like when you read it, I wonder how it was taught back then. Like when they were like, when they would be in school, they go to Jewish school. Like, do they teach this part? Like, and when they do, what does it look like?
I mean, this isn't in the first 5 books, but
No, but it should still. I don't know. What I don't. I should do more research on like what parts they really read. But I
yeah.
feel like Old Testament is like that's y'all's history.
Mm,
Maybe they just use it as history, but it might not be like scriptural. It could just be like this is our history though. Like this happened.
maybe I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know enough
me either.
to speak on that necessarily.
I'm gonna
But
Google it
yeah, but
because Hanukkah's coming up, or is it already starting? And I want to do research on that too.
go for it.
Yeah, see what all that's all about. But
Yeah,
yeah, so we think that he really sacrificed her, and you know he probably did.
probably.
Yeah. Were you do you want to move on to Samson, or were we still
Yes.
talking about Gideon? Or you gonna go back into Gideon? Or you were
Yeah.
done with
I
Gideon?
mean, Gideon. Let me just say this: Gideon. His entire story is based on his fear. I will say
Mhm.
that. But God still got the victory. Even in his fear. Uh,
Mhm.
and then eventually, like I said, his fear turned to violence. And God was able to judge the Midianites for what they did
Yeah.
to Israel,
I
which
think
is
Gideon ended up being actually like a
right.
really good leader. Like he was
He
like
was.
known to be
He
he
was.
judged Israel for 40 years.
Yeah, no, he wasn't bad. He definitely wasn't as bad as like Abimelech,
Okay.
but yeah, he was definitely kind of bloodthirsty just a little bit. He
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
revenge.
You know what's so funny for him to be so fearful, but then he kept questioning God. You would think that he would like that has you have to have a lot of balls for lack of a better word.
You do, but like fear speaks really loudly. So if you're not sure about something, it's like, can I have a sign? Like, don't be mad, but like, can I have another one? Because I don't
Yeah. I
know.
feel like I feel him on that though. Like
Anything to get
I
out
feel
of
like
it, I
that's
guess.
me. I'm like just really tell me. Like, I want to just make sure it's you, Lord. Is it you? I'm just trying to make sure. I ain't trying to make no wrong
I'm like,
decisions.
Jesus showed up in front of you, Gideon. Yes, it's
I
God. Yes,
know.
it's God.
I know. Could you
Jesus
imagine? But
himself.
what would you ask Jesus if he just showed up in your room right now? Would you ask would you ask him that question if you're with me, why is
No,
all this bad stuff happening?
no, I've already asked that question and he basically told me the same thing. Go with the strength you have. And what I would ask him now is how do you forgive all of us? Because it's hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That would be a
That's
great question.
yeah.
Ooh,
How
y'all,
did
leave
you
in the
do that?
comments. Leave in the comments what question would you ask Jesus if he popped in your room right now? Not to take you home, just to pop in. Just to pop in.
Look, I'd ask him that on the way home too. What you
I
mean?
know,
It's
I'd
like
be
I
like,
gotta know while
hey.
I'm here. You could
I'd
take
be
me
like,
wherever you
Jesus,
want.
take me with you.
It's
Um,
ghetto out here.
I know.
Okay,
Um,
so Samson.
ooh, Samson.
Samson serves as the climax of Judges.
Ooh, what a climax
He
too.
is the perfect depiction in the I can't say short because he got like 3 chapters, but in the story of Samson, he's the perfect depiction of Israel at the time. One thing
Mm-hmm.
about each judge that was being appointed was that it was the leader that um like God brought those leaders, but they also served as an indictment to Israel at the time. Like they had issues that were congruent with with the Israelites as a whole. And so for Samson, he was um his mom was met in the field one day by an angel that says you're about to have a son and he needs to be a Nazarite, and so he can't cut his hair, he can't eat grapes, he can't touch dead things, he can't do all these things or whatever. And and I mean, just like Jesus, like Mary was approached by an angel
Yeah.
to tell about Jesus' birth. So now we can see a correlation between Samson and Jesus in some way. And so like as you read through Samson, kind of pick out the parts that remind you of Jesus. But Samson, as he grew up, like dude was playing with fire on a regular basis. Like for him to be a Nazarite, dude was just walking around one day. Oh, goodness gracious. He was walking around in a vineyard. You can't drink wine. You can't touch grapes. You can't eat grapes. Why are you walking in a vineyard?
Cause
You
he
got
ain't
all
listen.
you.
He never was listening.
It's like you playing with fire. You're literally playing with fire. And as he's in the vineyard, a lion attacks him. He kills it. So one sin led to another sin because he can't touch dead animals or dead
Right.
things. So now he killed it and he touched it because it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then he leaves and sees this Philistine woman.
Yeah. He had a few love like entanglements before he even gets to Delilah. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh
oh.
yeah. I didn't know that. Like I thought it
Yeah.
was just
I didn't
all
realize
talk.
that either, I don't think.
Yeah. So okay, one of the main things is that you cannot marry outside of the tribe. Basically, like
Mm-mm.
you can't marry outside of Israel. And he was like, "Oh, she cute." And
Very
it literally
distracted.
says the only justification he had for I want to marry this woman is that she looks good in his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. In your
That was
eyes
it.
though. Let's underline that part. In your eyes.
In his own eyes, not in
In your
God's
own eyes.
eyes.
That's not good.
And like throughout Judges, at the end of every chapter, right before they get a new judge, I think it says like and Israel was doing what they saw fit in their own eyes or something like that.
Yeah, everybody like there was no king and everybody did as they wanted, or everybody did what
Yeah.
they thought was
Uh-huh.
right, or what did it
Yeah, what
say?
they thought was right in their own eyes. Yeah.
Yes.
And so now you see this in Samson, like, oh yeah, you cute because my eyes say you cute, which is a foreshadow to his demise because his eyes gets gouged out by the Philistines and his hair gets cut off. Um, but yeah, like he's like, no, I'm gonna marry this girl, and he's not supposed to marry her. He goes back. to, like, he's going back home one day and sees the lion that he killed, and there's like bees and and honey, like a hive in the carcass, the same carcass that he touched, he wasn't supposed to be touching, in the vineyard he wasn't supposed to be being in. There's a whole honey hive, beehive dripping with honey. And he was like, I know I'm not supposed to touch dead things, but like honey, that's sweet. I want that. Who wants to eat honey out of a dead lion carcass?
I don't know. I was thinking, I
Why do you
wonder if it
want
was
that so bad?
good.
And so he went to go eat it, and it almost is like a symbol for like his lust for non-legitimate women.
Yeah, Samson was like really like like his
He's a
actions in his head. I'm
womanizer.
like, my boy is messed up. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you okay? Like,
Like, you never
you
hear
just
about this in Sunday school. He's the victim
no.
in Sunday school
He
teachers.
was
Whenever we hear about Samson, we hear that Delilah tricked him. Delilah did not trick him.
no. Delilah was super straight up, straightforward.
Like, completely. Like, isn't
Yeah,
that suspicious?
he
Isn't it
was just
suspicious?
like dumb. Like he was just like I
She
don't know
flat
if
out
he was
asked him, so I don't know, you're really strong. Like, what could make you not strong? Like, what
she
could I do to, like
she was
what
doing
will
it
make
worse
you
than
weak?
that. She was so straight up. She was like, if I tie you up, how you not gonna be able to get out of it? Like what? He was like,
It's like,
okay, yeah, tie me up with fresh bowstrings. Like, why you let her tie you up? She didn't tie him up while he was asleep. She tied him up while he was like awake. And then he fell. I don't
yeah,
know. Or did she tie him up when he was asleep? Either way, she asked you and you told her exactly what to do. It was almost like he was tricking her too, though, because he was lying to her
he
for a
was
little while.
playing with it. I think he was flirting with it, because
He was very arrogant,
yeah,
is
like, it
what he
was a very
was.
prideful, like, nah. I mean, you can't, like, try to, like, it wasn't like a. I mean, if you, it wasn't. It didn't seem like he was trying to get her off his tail, because they weren't even married. This was like a fling.
No, because I want to say he married. Did he marry the first girl, but something happened to her?
He married the
Did
first
she
girl when
die?
he got back from. Okay, so
What happened
there
to
was like,
her?
there was a thing where he went and like killed a bunch of people with the jawbone of a donkey or something, or jawbone of a
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
And that was after he had married the first girl. And then when he got back home, her dad had given her to his best
Oh,
man.
oh yeah, because he was gone too long.
Yeah, because he was gone too long. And so he was without a wife because his wife was given to his best man. I was like, the
Okay.
tea. Oh
I know.
my god.
And that's what I'm saying. I thought he had a few ladies. Uh,
But Delilah, he had never married Delilah.
no, Delilah was just like a girl. Like, I just have a crush on this girl. I don't know if she was
Basically,
a girlfriend or what, but she was
it was a little
just
fling. It was a little entanglement with Delilah
yeah, it was
that got him pent up. That got him
that
locked
was
up.
definitely an entanglement. Because I want to say he had a wife. Didn't he have a wife after the job? Oh no. When did I thought he had two wives? Maybe
Maybe.
he
I
only
don't
had the
remember the
one.
second one.
I gotta go back and read it, but I was trying to see if I could look at it real quick, but it's
But
not.
like, Delilah was not, she
No,
was
they
not
weren't
stubborn at
married.
all. They weren't married. And
So
then she goes, well, if you love me, you would tell me. Like, you wouldn't
yeah,
lie to
she
me if
started
you
getting
love me.
upset.
I was like, what?
She started getting mad, like you
You're
were
mad
there,
that I'm not gonna tell you what would bring me down?
bruh. She said you have mocked me and told me lies. Won't you please tell me how you can be tied up?
Like,
Like
if
she
you
getting mad
love
because
me,
she's
you
like,
would
bruh,
tell
every
me.
time these guys come in, they think I'm lying to them because you have strength still. Why didn't he just leave? Why are you
Exactly. Like,
still
why
there?
did he just say, okay, well, if you cut my hair off, I'll be. Why would you
Why would
say
you tell her that?
that? Like,
Why
who
would you
said
tell her the
that?
truth? Talking about
Man,
talking about she was wearing him down because she was nagging him. What?
then leave.
Then
Get that
leave.
bread, get that head, then leave. Peace out. Like,
I don't I don't understand him or Delilah. Delilah was over there, but she was about to get a major payday though. So I see how a woman who's not serving God about to get the payday, she's ready to tie you up. But
Yeah, but
she didn't even try to really manipulate him. She wasn't being
no.
sinister. She wasn't
Uh-uh.
being underhanded. She said straight up, "Hey, you told me you loved me. I never told you I loved you. I'm really trying to get this payday. And if you love me, you'll let me be a hand in your murder."
Basically. And I'm just like, I don't, how is that sexy, Samson? Tell me. Like,
Right. It says because she nagged him day after day and pleaded with him until she wore him out, he told her the whole truth and said to her, "My hair has never been cut." So that worked now. So if I nag people, I can get them to do what I want. That has not worked for me thus far
like you are the strongest man alive, and this little girl, this young lady, has worn you down because she talks too much, and
because
y'all
she's
ain't even
nagging you.
married. Like you really could just leave.
Right. Go back to your mom and dad's house.
Yeah,
They
that was
waiting
what
on
got
you.
me. So then when he actually like gets to captivity and whatnot, like they take him, they gouge his eyes out, and basically tell him to perform. Like they like
Hmm.
put him up in like the almost like the equivalent of the Coliseum, and
Yeah.
they tie him up to the pillars, and it's like, go ahead, put on a show. And they start mocking him and taunting him, and like, and he was like, you're not gonna disrespect my God like this. And I'm like, you disrespected your God like that.
He was like, "Look, God." It was one of those prayers that you'd be like, "Lord, if you do this, I do this." But he knew it was gonna be over for him. He said, "Lord, just give me this one last strength so I can destroy these fools. My last act of
Yes.
judgment. Even I've been a terrible judge, but let me do this one last
But
one."
let me do this one last thing. Give me the strength to relinquish this last judgment. And it says that the the amount of people who died in the I'm gonna keep saying the Coliseum because I don't remember what it's called, but in the Coliseum tearing
It
down.
was some kind of like temple or something, huh? I know he was between some pillars. Let me see
Yeah.
if I can see what
So
it's
like
called.
with it coming down, like him bringing it to the ground or whatever, the amount of people that died was more than he had killed in his entire reign as judge. And
Mm.
so in his death, like brought the ultimate judgment. Ding ding ding, like Jesus. And Jesus'
Mm.
death brought the ultimate judgment. Instead of it being on others, he took it on himself by dying the ultimate death.
Oh yeah, you're right.
hmm
You're
Um,
right.
and he was able to give life to more people in. Jesus was able to give life to more people in his death than Samson was able to. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um.
Hmm.
So yeah, we could see Jesus and Samson, y'all. Isn't that great?
I know,
But
even though that's such an
Delilah,
unlikely candidate.
he
Right.
is, and it's crazy because it's like his life was set up for him to be a picture of Jesus, even though his entire life was full of sin. And
Hmm.
that's another thing, another instance where God used his lust and vengeance, because he ultimately, the stuff that he was doing with the jawbone and the stuff that he wanted to do, even him asking to bring that place down was out of vengeance. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
to
and I
it
think he even said that too. He said, "Let me get
Yeah,
this
he's
like
like,
last
let me just,
revenge real quick."
yeah, like please just with the last strength, the last breath I have, let me get vengeance on these people.
Hmm.
And it's in his lust for Delilah and his lust for, the honey, the sweetness to his eyes, and his vengeance that God was able um to dole out judgment on the Philistines for what they had done. Um, which I just think is so interesting because it's like that God is able to use our sin.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'd never really like wrap my mind around. So like all the
Hmm.
times that we're thinking about, like these mass, fatalities from wars in the Bible, and when Israel takes over certain territories and things like that, like yes, the act that they are doing involves as it involves like killing other people is sin. We're not saying that it's not, but God's power is able to use that to move his will forward. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you really have to trust that the goodness in that, because we hear that from our filter and see manipulation um and a whole bunch of bad things because we see it from a human point of view. But when you look at it from a spiritual perspective, since God sees the end from the beginning, he is the end and the beginning. There's nothing that happens in this life that he did not foreknow. Not that he does not know now, but like he does not like that he had not known
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning of the earth. It's like all of this is to lead to his will. Every single thing that happens is to lead to his will being fulfilled in the earth. And so yeah, the fact that God uses your sin just like he used all of our sin to then place judgment on Jesus to bring life and blessing to all of us. It's deep.
Yeah. 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 I was about to say I ain't got nothing to add to that. I don't. I don't.
It's
I
a
don't.
deep concept. It took me a minute to chew through. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
It took me a hot minute.
Yeah. This the book of Judges in general is like a book where you're just like it gives you some pause because you're just like, God, I need you to help me work through this book because stuff
Yeah.
is happening that I know you're not ordaining it, but I know you got it written in here for a reason, and some of it's triggering a little bit to me. And
Hmm.
sometimes when you're reading through certain parts, especially Old Testament, some New Testament too, but especially as a woman, is it could be a little as I say that when we get into our last
Yeah.
portion,
Because Samson was
very
the last
triggering.
judge.
Who?
Samson,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
was the
Samson
last
was the
judge.
last one. Hmm.
At this point, God just turned them over to themselves, and the Israelites were now completely responsible for their self destruction.
Yeah, they're like
Um,
fully pagan at this point.
yeah. So now we get to the point where the priests are priests for hire. The Levites are being paid by people to legitimize pagan ceremonies. And then we get to this man named Micah, who isn't the same Micah who wrote the book of Micah.
No, it can't be.
It's not the same. Yeah, I don't think it's the same guy. I
Mm-mm.
don't think it's the prophet Micah, but
Yeah.
there's a guy named Micah, and he is trying to get God's blessing on this altar that he has made to Baal. Makes no
Yeah, it was
sense.
really weird. It was really weird.
It makes
Yeah.
no sense. But he was trying to
That's
legitimize
where
it,
I
and
was
then he,
so confused by that chapter. I had to read it like twice because I was like,
yeah,
I am missing something here because I am
yeah, the
confused
math ain't mathing. Like
at all.
it wasn't making sense. And so then he ends up seeing this Levite priest, walking in the street or whatever. And he's like, "Yo, come here, like come into my house. I'll pay you, um, to legitimize this altar so that God can bless me."
Hmm.
And so you don't manipulate God at all. You don't try to do things to get God to bless you, because that is witchcraft, that is manipulation, and that is witchcraft.
Yeah.
Like that's not
Yes.
how God
Yes.
works.
Yes. And household, I was thinking that this earlier. Because I was thinking about how a lot of people that I know who are into New Age or witchcraft or what have you currently, they wear a lot of charms and they wear a lot of things, and they actually have altars in their house. And
Hmm.
I was just thinking about how I was like, it is so wonderful that I believe in the living God and I don't have to just put up stuff in order for me to feel safe and feel like I'm
Yeah.
good and feel like I'm warding off the evil spirits when I have the Holy Spirit and I'm just like
Yep.
that's all I need, bro. That's all you need. You don't need no charms. You don't need no rocks. You don't need no altars. You don't need none of that. Like I have cross jewelry, right? I have crosses that I wear, cross earrings. I don't have to wear them. It's not a thing that I wear to
Right.
ward off evil. It's just because I wear them.
Yep.
It's not about oh, I forgot to put on my evil eye today, and that's why I had a bad day. Yeah. Yeah. I thought about that today. And when you were talking about Micah and his little shrine
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
put
His
up
little
and trying to act
shrine.
like God is involved.
Right. And
No.
God was not anywhere near that.
Unnecessary.
Um, completely. So yeah, then you could talk about the Levite and his concubine.
Oh my gosh. That is where we're probably that's the last thing we have to talk about.
Yes.
Whoo, y'all. All I have to say is the chapter 19 in Judges is a doozy. It's like
It
when
changed
you
so fast. I
when
was
you
like,
read that chapter, you'll be like, your mouth
man,
will drop. Your jaw will be
yeah,
on the floor.
because it's literally like the last stanza. You're just like, wait, what? That escalated quickly.
Man, like, so the story basically starts where the Levite, I want to say, it says he had a wife, but I think it was his concubine. I don't even know what the difference in the meaning. I
I
don't
think
know.
a
I don't know because I thought a
concubine
concubine
is
was somebody you added to your wife.
I
But
I thought it was the like the wife giving you her maid to in
right,
marriage.
but remember, okay. So in the beginning of the chapter, something happens where there's some adultery. So there's a Levite and he has a concubine. His concubine is unfaithful to him. I didn't know your concubine could be unfaithful to you, but sure, I guess. So his concubine was unfaithful to him, and she left him and went back to her dad's house. She's like, I think she already was having some issues with the Levite, if you ask me,
Mhm.
because the Levite, he don't even act like he loved her or nothing. He's like really insensitive to her needs. You'll
Yeah.
understand why when I get to the end of this story. So she leaves, goes back to her dad's house. He is then like, you know what? I'm gonna go get her from her daddy's house. She been there too long. I'm gonna go get my concubine. When he shows up, the father is real happy because either he wants him to get back with her or he's tired of his daughter being at his house. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you're here, amazing!" So he's trying to butter him up. He's like, "No, stay, stay for a few days." Blah blah blah. So they end up leaving. He takes his concubine with him. I guess he convinces her to come even though she technically cheated on him. I don't know. There's lots of drama that they don't really explain, but they explain it enough. So they go and they are traveling. I think they try not to stop in a foreign city. They try to stop in an Israelite city, which I think do they stop in Gibeah, right?
Mhm.
But Gibeah is like weren't the Gibeonites were like residing with the Benjaminites or something like that? They were kind
Yes.
of in this right. Okay. Okay. I thought I had that right. So they're like trying to find a place to stay. Somebody takes them in. This is like definitely paralleling Sodom and Gomorrah at this point. So they're looking for a place. Um, somebody takes them in. Then the men of the town come to the door and they're like, "Hey, that guy that you just brought in here, you need to bring him out so we can have sex with him." Why, bro? Y'all, why don't y'all just go have sex with each other if that's
On
what y'all want to
me,
do?
like, why
You,
you
you
all
know
coming
why
disturbing
though?
my
Because it's not
house?
about the sexual act. It's about inflicting harm on people. I told one of my friends this before, who she actually is a part of the homosexual lifestyle, but she was trying to make sense of like, you know, was it wicked for them to be homosexual? Blah blah blah. And I was like, not necessarily saying that homosexuality is wickedness, because we all have wickedness, but I was like, really, their wickedness is like they're just wicked in general. They want to rape the men. They don't want to have a
Yeah.
loving relationship with the men.
Right. Like
There's
they
no
don't want to
love
have
there.
consensual sex with this man.
Yeah, there's no love there. Not only do they want to have immoral sex that's outside of marriage and with the same sex, they want to do it without their consent. So I was like, the wickedness is like on another level. It's not like, because do I think that homosexuality makes you wicked? No, because We know same sex attracted people. We know same sex
Right.
attracted people who are Christians who just die to their flesh every day. So that doesn't make you inherently wicked. You being wicked is just making you do a whole bunch of nonsense. So they want to rape the man who goes in there, the Levite. Now, this is where takes a very ugly turn. The man who lives there and the Levite are like, oh, take my concubine, have her. And the old man is even like, I got a daughter in here. She's a virgin. Take her. Why is that? Why is that
Why
a
is that the
response?
alternative?
The same thing happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. They tried to offer the girls.
I'm like, just leave my
Luckily,
house. How about that?
luckily there was angels there to blind the men so the girls didn't have to go out because the angels ain't playing that. Here, no angels show up. So the men take them on the offer. They say, okay, send the girl out here. And then we have our an example of a gang rape, basically. Like there's no sugarcoating it. There's a gang rape. They take turns raping the concubine all night. She tries to go back home and dies. She collapsed in the doorway. And the Levite is like, come on, let's go. He see her. No regard for like, you've been getting raped all night. And I've probably been hearing it because they probably did it right outside the door. They didn't
Right,
go too
because she
far.
crawled to the door. Yeah.
Yeah, like I know she was screaming. I know, maybe eventually she just lost strength, but she was screaming for a while. And then he's just like, come on, let's go. And then when he sees she has no life in her, he's like, dang. And he takes her to wherever, I guess back home, and he cuts her into 12 pieces with a knife to send out to all the areas of Israel to incite outrage. Now he's outraged. Now you're outraged. Now. Really?
Right. You weren't
Now
outraged
when
when
she
they
was
tried
getting
to.
raped because she died, you mad.
You mad because.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just.
It's It's I read a little bit about a little bit of the commentary on it. I did read a part where it said that centuries later Israel still remembered this crime because I guess it kind of woke them up a little bit, like how bad it was getting.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh gosh, like we gotta
Because
we
that's
gotta
when they. That's when they actually like. They actually didn't they go and fight against Benjamin? So
they
it's
actually
the tribe of
destroyed
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
They were like, damn, we gotta go kill one of our own tribes now. And then they did something bad even after that. So they destroyed Benjamin, but then they're like, dang, we really can't destroy another tribe, even though we
Because
technically have
then.
an extra one. But
Right.
they're like, so then something will happen with the survivors. They had some survivors, I think.
Yeah.
But all the other tribes are still mad, so they refuse to give their daughters to Benjamin for the guys that have survived.
Hmm.
But then they're like, no, we can't give them. But you know what we can do? We'll just sprinkle some virgins in the field and we'll let them just go take them. And then we'll say that we didn't give them in marriage. They were just taken in marriage. It's the most dumb thing I've ever heard in my life.
It is.
And them ladies was getting raped in the field too. It's just real bad. Like Israel at this point, they're not even of God at this point. Like they don't come back to God till I mean, I think there's a few people that, there's always like little remnants of people that still know God. He still continuously sent them prophets and stuff. So obviously there's still, but they were coming few and far between now. They're getting less and
Hmm.
less prophets because God, like, look, I'm like, I've done all I
Yeah.
can do with you. Like at this time, I just can't. I can't deal with it. Because right now, like I'm telling you, there's like really, to me, there's no real happy points in this book. Not really. Maybe Deborah's
Mm-mm.
song. Maybe just the
Maybe.
girl
Yeah.
power. Just the girl power part where I'm just like, you get it, girls. But other than that, especially Judges 19, I cannot get over it that
Yeah.
the
The
girl
end
is
of
cut up
Judges.
into 12 pieces. Like she ain't deserve to die like that. She
She
didn't
did
even want to
not.
be with you. And I wrote that down too. They said that the Levite was heartless towards his concubine, and you can see that in the way he sees her on the ground, He's just like, come on. He don't try to help her up. He don't try to clean her off. Nothing. Nothing. And that could be why she left him in the first place, or why she cheated on him in the first place. Because he's not a nice
Maybe.
guy. There's
Maybe.
reasons. She wasn't just.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't like this theory that every woman in the Bible is some kind of harlot that don't have no feelings. That's not how life
Yeah,
works.
no. There's always a reason.
Yeah, it was a reason. I don't think she was just a hussy out here that was like in love with somebody else. She probably was just being mistreated. She was a concubine, not the wife. And for some reason, he wanted to get the concubine back. I still don't understand that part. Just go get you a new one.
Right.
Like, she went back to her daddy house. She don't want to be with you. She cheated on you. Like,
She went back to her daddy house. She don't want to be with you.
yeah. And you can tell they're not even following the laws of Moses anymore, because isn't he supposed to take her to the priest if she cheated on him, or if he suspects her of cheating? Unless he just caught her red-handed. But even then, isn't she supposed to like get stoned or something? Like, there's supposed to be protocols, but
Yeah.
what you doing
He
ain't it.
is a Levite. Like, dude
Yeah,
is.
you supposed to really know what's going on. I didn't even know Levites. I don't know. I feel like when you in the service of God, I feel like they don't really be having wives and stuff like that. But maybe I'm wrong. I guess they do, because they were still procreating. But like, when I think of priests, I think about like people who like just dedicate their whole life to God, and that's just it. But maybe not. But I feel like this Levite is like not even priest like. I don't know what he's doing.
Nah,
He's just out here wilding out.
basically. But you want to go to intercessory prayer? I have somebody.
Who do you have? Who do I have? I probably got this Levite here. That was mine.
So
Tripping.
the king that I think his name was Ehud. I think he was like the first or second judge
Oh
that he
yes,
killed. So
yes.
I
Where's
don't
my
remember the
book?
name of the king, but
Is it Eglon?
yes, I
That's
think
the one with the
so.
fat belly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's how I
So
imagined it in my head, that he was fat.
yeah, so King Eglon, the like
Anyway.
Ehud, who was the judge for Israel, like went into his like chambers or whatever and killed him,
Mhm.
and then left him there and dipped. And then his like servants and stuff were standing outside, and it says in the version that I read, it said they were standing outside long enough to be embarrassed. So like they was outside. They was outside his chambers, and they didn't think anything of it because like they were used to him going to the bathroom and it smelling that bad.
Yes, I laughed. I laughed.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Like, why does
Like
it
dude
smell
was
that
stinking up
bad?
the bathroom on a regular basis, and so his poop smelled like death, and
Yes.
so they didn't know that he was dead because that's normally how his dump smell.
Yep. What's crazy to
Dude
me,
had
see,
some
I knew he was fat.
problems. He
It
needed some
said even the
probiotics.
handle went in after the blade, and Eglon's fat closed in over it. That's a fat man.
That is a fat man. That's a very
So
fat man.
so
Dude had some gut issues.
he
Okay,
couldn't even withdraw the sword from his belly. That's why he left
like
it there.
I'm gonna go.
He basically pierced his large intestine, because the poop came out of his body.
Oh
It says the
yeah,
waste came out. That's why they were like, "Oh, he's just in there pooping."
that's hilarious. It's not okay. It's not funny that he died, but like it's
No, that
funny
part is
the
funny.
parts that they highlight about his death. And
Yeah.
so it's like it's not like he died an honorable death. Like dude
No.
died
No.
smelling like
Poop.
poop.
Yeah, with a dagger or a blade in his belly, in his
And
fat
people
belly.
stood outside and was like, he's in there a long time.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my
He
gosh. Yeah, but when I
needed some
read that part, I
Pepto.
actually did laugh, because I just think that story is just so random. Like,
It
the
is.
Book of Judges is so random, because it just hops from like story to story, and it's not super cohesive. It's just like a bunch of stories
Yeah.
about different judges, and some of it is just like, oh. such and such judged Israel for 8 years, and there's like a paragraph. You're like, okay, we don't know nothing about him. Cool.
Cool.
And then it got this guy. He's like, oh, he snuck in the guy's room and stabbed him in the belly, and then
And then they said he
lost
was
his sword in
left-handed.
there. And like,
Then they
what?
said he was left-handed. But the
Yeah.
irony is that he's from the tribe of the right hand.
Yes, I wrote
He's from the
down.
tribe
I
of
when I was
Benjamin.
reading, I was
And
looking through my
Benjamin
notes in my
means
Bible. I was
son
like,
of the
what's the
right
significance?
hand.
You said what?
So he's from the tribe of Benjamin, and Benjamin means son of the right hand, and he's
And he's left-handed.
left-handed.
Yeah. I had that written down. I was like, what is the significance of him being left-handed? Because I was like, why?
In one
Why are you left-handed?
translation, it said he was wrong-handed.
Oh, poor guy. That's why he couldn't pull that sword back out.
Probably, but like,
We can.
and like they kept this through line of him being left-handed because he pulled it out from his right side. He pulled the sword out from his right side, like his right hip or whatever. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
right-handed, you pull it from your left. You
Mm-hmm.
pull it across your body. And I was like, "Dang, bro, why you had to? Why you had to say
Yes.
he was left-handed? You just okay,
But I think that's another example of, again, how God be using the most random people to do what he's do. He's like, oh, you from the tribe of the right-handed? Guess what? I could pick any of y'all, but I'm going to pick the little
right?
left-handed boy, and he going to do what I need him to do.
Yeah, exactly,
And I'm going to write about him. Because
right.
this is a funny story. Like, why you wrote that down? The way it's written is just like, the details, like you said, are just
It's hilarious,
like this. Like, there's probably other stories about him, but this is a story y'all choose to include. And
right?
then after that, you go into the next judge, and it's just like, and such became a judge, and he delivered Israel by striking down 600 Philistines with a cattle prod, and that's all they say about him. And then they go to the next one.
Yep. It's like
Like,
that's what you choose to talk about.
all I'm gonna tell you about this one guy, I'm gonna tell you about this one guy. I'm gonna give you a huge spiel on him, how he did this, and how the guy was leaking poop from his belly. And then the next guy, I'm gonna give you one sentence, and I'm gonna tell you that he fought some people with a cattle prod. That's the one detail I'm gonna give you. Yeah, he killed 600 people with a cattle prod. How? How you kill people with a cattle prod?
You poke them
Real hard.
real hard.
Laughing with it. Slapping people to
Yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah. Yeah. For intercession prayer, I don't think I mean, just put the whole book in there. But
Basically,
if
the
anybody's
Israelites
in there,
are
for
evil.
me, is Jephthah and Samson. You get your butt in there too. Um, and the Levite who was cutting up his concubine because
Yeah.
he's just a mess.
And then Abimelech, because he got his just desserts, because he
Hmm.
killed his 69 brother or 69 brothers for
Yeah.
his mom, and he like sacrificed them on a stone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he gets himself killed by a mother with a stone. I
Yeah.
was like, well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
called
That was
justice.
he was wilding out too.
Yeah, he was.
Why
Yeah,
you
he
didn't have
doing
to do
too
all
much.
that. You didn't have to do that.
But
But
yes,
it came back on you.
it did. And that
Whew.
is Judges, everyone.
Yes. Yes, the book of Judges, y'all. Not for
Mhm.
the weak hearted, I'm telling you. And
Definitely
that's not
not.
any milk. That's that meat right there.
Yep, you gotta chew that.
I'd strongly advise reading through some commentaries, doing some Googles,
Deep dives.
because it's like, wait, what? Because
This is not surface level revelation.
your jaw will be on the floor on
Yeah.
some of those parts. We didn't even get into every single part but we got to most of the
Yeah.
juicy parts.
But this is not surface level revelation, people.
Yeah, it's
You
like,
gotta dig.
yeah. So next, what we should be talking about, me and Vic still have to decide how we're gonna structure these next couple of weeks. Because technically we already read Ruth, but we need to discuss it. But it deserves like its own time. Because there's a lot going on in Ruth, even though it's only like 4 chapters, but it could it could be its own episode.
Yeah. It
But
all leads to Jesus, so we had to talk about it.
yeah, but we're already in First Samuel, so I'm just like, ooh, we might have to do a double recording or something,
Yeah.
just so we don't fall behind. But I'm so happy we made it to 10 episodes. I feel like I love those like round numbers, where you're like milestones.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that this was our episode for episode 10, because I was like, this is a good topic. So yeah, so we really appreciate everybody who's been listening. Again, as you know, we always say, press all the buttons,
Do all the
like,
things.
comment, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend to tell a friend, share it, share the link. The holidays are coming up. Y'all don't have nothing else to do. You're going to be off work. Why not listen to a podcast
While you eat,
while you eat? If you watch it on YouTube, you can put it on the screen. If you got a smart TV, the whole family can watch us talk and laugh and and join in. So, that's all I have to say.
Yep.
But we bid you adieu, and we will see you next time.
Bye.